something. When a girl's 18, 19 years old, etc., she's at her peak, and she doesn't find the right guy, and then she ends up 27, 28, 29, 30, whatever it is, and she can't find a dude because she's too old and she's aged out of the sexual marketplace, and a guy says,
Namaskaram YouTube, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about why you should stop listening to broken men. Now, I do tend to see a very large trend within specifically the red pill community, and even outside of the red pill community, within the fitness industry and the gym community, whether that be TikTok, Instagram Reels, Instagram Shorts, where there's almost this not only commodification of the negative emotions of manhood, but also a larger display of normalized aggression within men, or normalized sadness. We see a lot of normalized behavior just when it comes to perspective on women, and overindulgence in the pursuit of money, overindulgence in the pursuit of women, overindulgence in the idea of the masculine self. And a lot of these spaces, you're listening to these men that are actually very much in hurt spaces. And if you take some time out of your life to step away from all of that, and to really just sink into what you are, to really sit with the infinity inside of you and realize that your emotions have a bit more of a spectrum to them than just anger and frustration. If you really just sink deeply into that feeling of being alone for a second and how you feel, you'll be able to get past it. Realistically, as a human being, your resting state of being should not be one of anger or resentment, especially for the world around you, especially not towards the opposite sex, considering that you literally need them to procreate and you literally need them to continue life within itself. You know what I mean? But when you sit within these spaces, you become a boiling frog, just constantly consuming, oh, these women are this, these women are that. You have to be on your purpose as a man. You have to chase your money. You have to. When you're just constantly consuming and letting that rhetoric seep deeper and deeper into the crevices of your mind, what you fail to realize is how destructive these philosophies can be when taken to the extreme, or how some of these philosophies can be at base. But the problem is, when you enter spaces like this, you become increasingly desensitized to things that you would normally deem as a bit extreme. And it's because, in a sense, you are still upset about the things that hurt you to begin with. And a lot of these men in these spaces are as well. You could hear it when they talk. You could hear it when they're speaking with other women on their podcasts or speaking about women. You could see it in the type of content they make, where they almost cherry pick and seek out this negativity. At the end of the day, yes, there are women in the world that will cheat on you. Yes, there are women in the world that are seeking to take advantage of you. Yes, there are people in the world in general that are not the best types of people, or are people that are incredibly troubled, that can hurt you if you allow them to get close to you, if you allow them access to vulnerability. But that doesn't make every single woman bad. That doesn't make every single relationship pointless. That doesn't make marriage a scam. That doesn't make relationships a scam. That doesn't make you an idiot for going to college. And it doesn't make you a bum for not wanting to have a 7-figure business and drive a McLaren and get your dick sucked by a new woman every other week. You don't have to amount to that to still be something. But if you allow yourself to sit in these spaces where you're consuming the negative emotions of other men, it won't be long before you start to think like them too. And the thing is, the more that you start to think like them, the harder it is going to be to stop thinking like them. The more that you start embodying this anger, the more that you start taking on trauma that's not even yours, the harder it's going to be to discern your reality from anyone else's. You have grown men on the internet talking about heartbreaks that's happened to them at 14, 15, 16, 22 years old. At 17, 16 years old, you don't even know what you want to do in terms of a major. Most college kids switch their major 13 times. It's pretty likely that you're also going to get into a relationship with somebody and it's not going to work out. You're not going to get married with them. It's pretty likely that you're going to come across some people that are still trying to figure their life out or have a messy life and they bring you into that, or you get hit with a straight bullet from that. Very likely. But to take those micro moments that do happen and to hold them with you for the duration of your life and to just brand it as this is what life is an acceptance on the individual's part of saying this is what life is going to be. And that's what life becomes, because that is what you subconsciously seek out. The problem comes now when you as the individual choose that reality for yourself and now make content that resonates with people that have gone through something similar, and now it misguides them. It pushes them in a direction more towards, oh yeah, women are gonna cheat on me, so I might as well not be married. I might as well not do this. So now you're living this life of sufferation where you're separating yourself more and more from the life that you truly want to live. Not the life that you think you should be living, not the life that whichever influencer tells you you should be living, but the life that deep down within your deepest core of being, when it is dead silent, that life, when it's dead silent, is the life that you actually want to live. But you can't get to that because you've convinced yourself, or these spaces put you in a position to where you'll convince yourself that that's no longer what you want. So now it's not about having a conversation about communication with your partner. It's not about finding some equal footing. It's not about forgiveness. Now it's about, she was going to cheat on me anyway, or she was going to do this, or she's going to do that, or all these women are whores, so I might as well not try. You're regurgitating, or you end up getting into a position where you regurgitate things based off an experience that you haven't had. And while yes, it's very true that wise men learn from the mistakes of others, you have to be very careful who you listen to still, because you were not around to see how these men were. You don't know the ins and outs of these men's relationships. And if you look at them psychologically, a lot of them don't sound okay. I'm not saying that they're all wrong, because within every single facet of life, there is some form of a half-truth. Where people are finding truth, there is some there. Otherwise, nobody would listen. But the problem comes when that half-truth or that perspective becomes your perspective without any learned experience of your own. So now you're going into these relationships, or now you're dealing with people in the world, and you have this rigidity about you. You have this hyper masculine nature about you, to where it becomes a suit of armor for you to protect you from getting hurt again. But you fail to realize, or maybe you have already realized, how doing that doesn't stop you from being hurt, because you're still hurt. Regardless if you choose to engage in a marriage or a relationship, regardless if you choose to approach life in a healthier manner, in a sense where you're more loving and forgiving and more open as a man, or you choose to be closed off, reserved, angry, bitter, either way you will experience pain. Either way. But at the end of the day, I would much rather, and I feel like a lot of men, if they knew, would much rather choose the path where they get hurt but they still get to love, where they get hurt but they still get to grow, where they get hurt but they still get a chance to be themselves, ultimately, over a character or a caricature of an individual that's truly not happy. You know, you look at Musashi, you look at Guts, you look at these characters that are tragic characters, and it becomes a thing where it's like, oh bro, that's literally me. You don't want that to be you. You don't want to live a life so difficult that you cannot bring yourself to love somebody else, that you cannot fathom the idea of loving somebody else. When you look at characters like that, look at them more so from the perspective of inspiration, of, okay, look at how this person came from such low depths yet try to overcome themselves. And don't romanticize it. You shouldn't romanticize the idea of having these problems. That doesn't mean that you don't accept them, but romanticizing your problems is just as bad as ignoring them. Coming into this grandiose idea you're going to the gym to fight your demons, no, because the reality is you can lift as much weight as you want, you can make as much money as you want, you can have sex with as many women as you want, but at the end of the day, no matter where you go or what you do, there you will be, and you will always be exactly who you are, no matter what. You cannot run from yourself. And I feel like a lot of these spaces almost sell you this dream to where you can run from your reality, where you can take the red pill or the cheat pill, where now you're tuned in and you know, oh, this woman's gonna do this. But the reality is you're making that for yourself. You're repulsing the right woman away from you. Because if you really sat down and thought about it, the woman that wants you would not want you. The woman that you would want would not want you. And it's because, what are you listening to? Who are you listening to? And why are you listening to them? And when they do speak to those aspects of your character, ask yourself, is it genuinely the right thing though? It might speak to you, it might hit a certain area, it might make you really feel comforted. But not all comfort is a good form of comfort. Not every form of satiation is the right satiation. And it's only in that stillness, when you take yourself out of these spaces, when you stop listening to people that are just as angry as you for a second, that you'll actually be able to get through those emotions. Because the only thing that you're doing is stopping yourself from feeling what you need to feel fully. If you're angry that a woman did something to you that you did not appreciate, sit down and be angry about it, but don't make it your personality. Don't make it your brand. Your brand should not be hating women. Your brand should not be being the alpha male or this or that. It shouldn't be your brand, because it's going to start to dictate your reality. Your reality is going to shift, and it's going to literally become that. And I know this firsthand, because for years I was consuming this content, allowing it to really deep seed itself into my brain, and I was ruining relationships with amazing women, with good people. I was pushing great people away from me, and I was moving in a manner that wasn't necessary, and I was not getting anywhere in life. I wasn't getting the nice cars. I wasn't getting invited into all the fancy rooms. I got places. I got shit done. Don't get me wrong. But the moment that I really just opened myself up again, and I allowed myself to be vulnerable, the moment that I allowed myself to listen to another influence, to listen to another idea of what could be, to accept the idea that life is not just about masculinity. It's not just about performance. It's not about showing up and performing. You shouldn't feel like you have to perform in your relationship. You should not feel like you have to perform in bed. You should not feel like you have to show up every day as this, and if you don't show up as this, then you are not valuable. You are not a tool. But the problem is, a lot of these spaces, they experience the negative aspects of what comes with being a man, and they internalize these messages. So now after they get hurt, they internalize it and they tell themselves, yes, masculinity is a tool, I'm a tool. It's not the case. And once you allow yourself to step outside of that and really open yourself up to, more divine concepts, the idea of a divine masculine with that touch of femininity, the idea of yin and yang, the idea of having balance within yourself, the idea of being an individual, having a sense of individuality. When you open yourself up to that, when you open yourself up to being more grateful for what you actually do have, being grateful for the relationships that do work, being appreciative and opening your eyes to the women in your life that are actually good women, that are actually good men. When you open yourself up in that manner and you allow yourself to blossom in that manner, and being a lotus in that sense, where you're allowing yourself to come up out of a negative situation and blossom regardless of circumstance, as opposed to letting the circumstance define you. When you do that, all of a sudden things just start to click. All of a sudden things become a lot more harmonious. Now the relationship that a year ago I said I couldn't get, I have. Now the financial situation that I didn't think I would be in, I'm in. Now the growth as a man that I didn't expect to have, I have. These things just come. They come now. Effortlessly. They flow in place. And it all just comes from a perspective shift. It all comes from tuning into myself as opposed to, damn, I'm angry right now. Let me go find somebody on the internet that's also angry so that way we can be angry together. Anger is a powerful tool. Anger is a very powerful tool because it's an indicator that something is wrong. You don't just get angry for any reason. Anger is a great indicator. And in a sense, it is a form of a guideline for you, but not in the sense that you should let it dictate or make you go anywhere. Anger is a sign that you should sit still and figure out what's wrong. Take a moment to be still in your anger. Don't wear your anger, don't wear your trauma like some badge of honor as if the whole world is built that way. Because if it's really the case, then what's the point? If every single interaction was going to be the exact same, if everybody was going to treat you the exact same, then what would be the point of waking up every day? There wouldn't be a point. So the next time you find yourself in these spaces where you're really just listening to these people, try to, for a second, isolate them. Remove a little bit of a layer of your own empathy for a second. Or actually add in the empathy and remove your own baggage. Remove your own trauma. Listen to their life for a second. And then look at this person objectively and ask yourself, okay, if this person is doing this, this, and this, it kind of makes sense that their relationship wouldn't work out too well. If this person sounds this angry about this, I can imagine how they would handle a mature conversation. Do I want to be like this person in 5 years? Do I want to embody the qualities of this person in 5 years? Could I raise a family being this type of person? Am I going to be genuinely fulfilled being this type of person? And if the answer is no to that, then you need to find a different mentor. You need to find a different source to pull from, because it can't be that. With that being said, I hope this video did provide you with some form of insight or value. I definitely feel like spaces like this are a lot more conducive to overall growth. I definitely think that the spaces that we just spoke about, specifically being red pill spaces and more, I don't want to just keep saying hypermasculine for the sake of saying hypermasculine, because if somebody identifies more heavily with a certain type of masculinity, I wouldn't want to strip that from them. If that's who they are, that's who they are. But I will say that in a lot of these spaces, there tends to be less room for conversations like this and more room for very much echo chamber speak and it's very self-destructive content. It tends to be very cyclical, and I don't see it making any progress. My goal with you here is to help you make progress the same way I am, by sharing my progress. With that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video. Nara Scar on YouTube.